Mock week. Yep. Trial run at the press conference. See if we're ready to go. All right, appreciate everybody coming out. Great to see Jeff Crane here as well. Excited to have him back in Columbia with us as well, and fired up for how he's going to continue to make this entire athletic department better, without a doubt. First day of class here at Carolina, so best of luck to all the students as they get started with the fall semester. Myself and Coach Staley and Coach Paris were over on the Horseshoe last night and got a chance to visit with a lot of them, and there's a lot of excitement and energy, as you can imagine, right now in Columbia, the start of the school year, start of football, and it's one of the many things that is so great about being a part of a college campus, is just that feel that you have in the air that so many people do right now. And I hope the first day of class was awesome for all of them. Having said that, really excited about our players and what they've done from an academic standpoint. We have 28 graduates on our football team right now, which is pretty awesome. And to have 28 current football players that will be playing next Saturday against Old Dominion that have already graduated. And then we'll have 13 more that will graduate in December. So we'll have 41 players at the end of the season that will already have their degrees walking out of the University of South Carolina. So kudos to them, and kudos to everyone in the Doty, our academic center, as well, for the work they're putting in. Also, Steve mentioned it's our mock game week. As you guys know, we don't get a preseason game, so we got a lot of new players. I was counting it up this morning. I mean, we've got a bunch of guys that'll be playing next Saturday that it'll be their first time ever playing in Williams-Brice Stadium, whether it be freshman, transfer, a lot of guys. So we use this week to really allow them to get a feel for what game week is like around here. So we did everything, or are doing everything today and yesterday and Sunday, identical to what we will do in a normal game week, so they can figure it out, get their routines, how we practice Tuesday, how we meet Tuesday, how we practice and meet Wednesday, how we practice and meet Thursday, what we do on Fridays, home game, away game, all that as well. So hopefully next week we are even more suited for it as well. We'll have our normal week. Friday morning, we'll kind of go through our normal game day or day before the game routine on Friday. And then Friday late afternoon, evening, we'll have our situational practice over in the stadium, where we basically do like a mock game and go through every situation you can think of that could come up on offense, defense, and special teams in a game. And then we'll give our guys Saturday off. It'll be their last, weekend off until the end of September, when we have our first open week as well. And then we'll all be back in here on Sunday, ready to roll and kick things off for good next week. Injury update coming out of the scrimmage, pretty good shape. The only two issues from the scrimmage were Emory Floyd has a little bit of a lower body issue. He should be fine for Old Dominion next week. Aaron Parks got his ankle rolled up a little bit. We'll see about him. I'd say he's probably doubtful for next week. But other than that, we came out of the scrimmage on Saturday in pretty good shape. And guys have had Sunday off. We didn't practice. We just met and lifted. Yesterday was their a mandatory day off as well for the week. So we came back in here this morning fresh and energized, and had one of our better practices that we've had here in a while, particularly on a Tuesday. We were efficient, got a lot of plays run, physical, spirited. Our guys are certainly eager to play. They showed that today, and now we got to just make sure we continue to stay on a good pace leading into next Saturday and be at our best next Saturday against Old Dominion, which we will need to be. So, questions?
Shane, sorry to ask you the same one 2 times in a row, but any decision on QB1?
I met with those guys this morning, informed Lenoris that he would start next Saturday night or next Saturday afternoon against Old Dominion. Met with them this morning. Like I said, both of them were great. I meant what I said to you guys on Saturday, David, after the scrimmage, that I really feel like we have multiple quarterbacks that we can win with. And Robby really did some good things on Saturday, and he's going to help us win football games this season. Davis Bevel did some good things. Dante Reno came in there and did some nice things on Saturday as well. So we have a lot more depth in that room than what we had last year. But as I told Lenoris and Robby both when I talked to them this morning, we're continuing to, like every position, the guy that gives us the best chance to be successful is going to be the guy that's out there week in, week out. And that's not to say that we're going to be rotating quarterbacks every 2 plays or anything like that. We're not doing that, but they've got to continue. Lenoris has got to continue to progress like he has been, and Robby's got to continue to progress like he has been, and that's only going to make us better.
And Dre Jacobs and Gilbert Edmund were each part of undefeated teams at Florida State. Have they been asked to talk about that by the teammates, by yourself, just about being part of that mentality?
Gil a little bit more so than Dre, just because Gil was here in January and our players knew him, and he, Luke Day kids at Gil's like the portal time traveler. He's like gone through the portal and he's gone to the other side and he's come back. So Gil, having been here before, going to Florida State, then coming back, he can really talk about some things. Not that Dre can't, but Dre just got here a little bit more recently, and he maybe has with some of his teammates in private. But as far as team meeting settings, we've had Gil, talk to him, and we've told Gil that you've seen it and you went through an undefeated season, and that was a team that I guess 23 they went undefeated, 21 and 20 I don't even think they were in a bowl game, Florida State, and then 22 they had a good year, 23 they advanced and they go undefeated. So Gil to be able to talk about some things that he saw down in Tallahassee and how it can help us has been good.
What was it about Lenoris and how he's taken strides since the action he got last year that has really shown out to you that he's ready for this step?
I think just the consistency, and both those guys have been good. When I was over in Florence earlier this spring and said that Lenoris was our starting quarterback coming out of the spring, I said that and did that because he had a good spring and he was a little bit farther along because of familiarity with the offense. And then Robby had a heck of a summer. Lenoris had a heck of a summer, and they've both been really, really good. It was just, Lenoris has been consistent, and just speaking about Lenoris specifically, I think he continues to get better each week. His poise, his consistency, his understanding of what we're trying to do. It was he's done what we've asked him to do coming out of spring practice.
This wide receiver kind of competition too. You said Saturday you were starting to go through some travel rosters, some mock game rosters. How many scholarship receivers do you want on a road trip, and how close are you to kind of narrowing down who those guys are?
Good question. Really, I think it depends on what those guys can do. Special teams is going to be a big part of it, Alan. And ideally, if we're playing 3 receivers, typically most snaps, you'd love to have 3 guys and 3 guys that can back them up, which is 6, and then 2 or 3 swing guys. So ideally, 8 or 9. Could it be less than that? Sure. Especially depending on how the tight ends come along. Could it be more than that? Absolutely. But it's going to be because they're really good special teams players. So we did it again yesterday. We met with Joe. The staff met with Joe DeCamillis and went through kind of every position. And I've got in my mind, a preliminary 74 that will go to the first SEC away game. And that 74 right now has 9 receivers on it. But if we're going to take 9, then we're counting on a couple of those guys being really, really good special teams players. And that's the same case at a lot of positions, running back, defensive end, defensive back as well. But I've been part of different aspects of it. But again, to me, every week, it's what gives you the best chance to be successful.
2 things. One, you kind of alluded to it a little bit, but with how much you liked Robby throughout the preseason, is there a chance you guys will have packages for him, or he'll get in games and be able to do things?
I'd say there's a chance. I would say that every week is different. You certainly want to give your quarterback that goes out there to start the game every opportunity to get in a rhythm and be successful, and that doesn't mean rotating regularly. But Robby can do good things happen when the ball's in Robby's hands too. So I think, it's not coach speak, it's the truth. I mean, every week is different, but we've got full confidence in Robby being out there if we asked him to go out there and do something.
Davis Bevel just told us he was recently put on scholarship. What went behind that decision, and does that put you guys at 85 now?
Davis was a guy that came in here his first year, our first semester, when he came from Oklahoma. He came in as a walk-on coming from Oklahoma, and we kind of talked about let's just see how things go, and he's done a good job, and that was he left a scholarship in Norman to come here as a walk-on. And we said, let's see how spring practice in the summer goes. And he's done what he's supposed to do. And then as far as the 85, I'll keep that between us as far as where our scholarship numbers are on the team.
You mentioned the wide receivers a little earlier. How is Mao Bennett coming along, and what do you what kind of stands out about him from what you've seen in fall camp so far?
Mao is a gamer, and he's just one of those guys. He loves to compete, and when the lights come on, it just seems like he's always making a play. I go back to one of my earliest memories of Mao was we were recruiting him, obviously, when he was at Greenville High, and their team came down here for a 7-on-7 camp. And when he was right out here on our practice fields, his team competing in a 7-on-7 camp, just the competitive spirit that he played with. And it was kind of like a switch flipped, and a light came on, and he just hit another gear when he's out there competing. I saw that day at 7-on-7, and then I've seen that since he's come down here as well. He's very smart. He knows what to do. He's accountable, and he makes plays, So he's going to play next Saturday, and he's going to play a lot next Saturday.
Coach, in that linebacker room, you have a good mix of returning players and starters and some impact transfers. Over the course of these last 14 practices, how has that, or I guess roles, been kind of assimilated so far?
In the linebacker room, that's another one that's a lot of competition, and depending on who's playing on Saturdays, special teams is going to go very much into that. But I believe that all those guys bring a skill set. I was talking with Deebo about it yesterday. I feel like our linebackers, I've said it to you guys before, and it's the truth, we're deeper and we're absolutely more athletic than what we were last year. And that allows you the multiplicity to do a lot of things. And whether, we're bringing them on pressures, which we've done in the past, don't get me wrong, but they've improved as pass rushers when they're getting matched up against a running back or a linebacker. And some are a little bit better than that than others, but they can all rush the passer. They can all run. They can cover. It's a good they all complement each other very well, if that makes sense. And I love the athleticism. Deebo and Bam and Golly and Demetrius Knight, obviously, love what they bring to the table. Mo Kaba's back and healthy and has done really well. Fred Johnson's a freshman that we're really, really excited about, just his athleticism and ability to run, his size. He's just going to continue to get better. So that's a room with a lot of competition that all are continuing to push and make each other better as well. And I didn't even name Bronny Porter and Andrew Colasurdo and Jaron Willis, and those are all guys that have played, Jamie and Risher, guys that have played either defense or special teams. So that room's very deep and more athletic.
Coach, we're just 11 days to kick off as you start to cement your depth chart. I'm curious, what are the biggest things you want this team to improve on to be ready for kickoff next week against Old Dominion?
There's a lot. First games stink because there's just the unknown. You've been practicing, you can prepare for everything, but I'm always nervous before every game, but first games are just different because it's your first time doing it for real, and you can prepare for everything, but you can't. And there's always something that comes up, and we can put them through a simulated scrimmage. It's like a simulated game, but until there's 80,000 people over there and the lights are on, it's just different. So there's a lot that you have to get done. But as far as just specifically football-wise, really, I would say just the quarterbacks continuing to develop a rapport with the receivers and tight ends and guys that they're going to be throwing to as well. I've said it all along, the key for us offensively is going to be how we got a lot of new faces and how quickly those guys can come together and connect. So that's still a work in progress, and the quicker, we've got to continue to do that and develop that even more. Defensively feel pretty good. We're still trying to figure out exactly what our depth is going to be in the secondary as well. That the safety position, that's a battle behind Nick and DQ. Let's see how that thing shakes out. The corner opposite O'Donnell right now as well. And then really just trying to get the whole team as ready to play as possible next Saturday afternoon.
I have two, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. Sorry. Going back to Deebo, at the South Carolina media day, someone referred to him as sort of the glue of this defense, and he was very visibly kind of taken back by that, clearly very honored. I'm curious, could you just talk a little bit about how he carries himself and his leadership going into the season?
Yeah, he was voted a captain by his teammates last season. That shows you the respect level that they had for him last year, the respect level they have for him now. I think it's just the way that he goes about his business every single day. No one can question how important football is to him. No one can question how physical he is to him. You know, we had a play today in practice where it was one of the very first plays in practice, and he and Rocket were kind of one-on-one in a hole, and Rocket lowered his shoulder, and Deebo's going to say that the defensive back kind of knocked him off track a little bit. I saw the running back kind of lowered his shoulder and jolted Deebo a little bit, so I certainly let him know about it. And he clearly did not appreciate that, because in the next 3 plays, he's like a madman. And TJ Sanders comes up to me and he's like, you did that. You know, you did that by calling him out on the first play. But that's just him. He loves to play, and you can just see you see the violence that he plays with on the football field. Teammates can't help but respect that as well. And he's not afraid to be vocal and hold his teammates accountable when things aren't getting done the right way too.
And sorry to go back to Lenoris and the quarterback stuff, but obviously people say that he's sort of quiet. I'm curious, did he have really any reaction when you told him? Was he kind of okay, cool? What?
No, I think his exact words were, okay. I think it's exactly what he said, to be honest. Well, I take that back. I've met with Robby in my office, and I did meet with Lenoris, but I texted him this morning to come by the office, and he didn't see the text before the team meeting, so I talked to him out on the practice field, and it was the same conversation I would have had with him in the office, but it was okay. And then back to what he was doing. That's just him.
Speaking of linebackers and stuff like Deebo, Bam Martin-Scott seems like he's really come along well in fall camp, and obviously he's coming off what he did at the end of last year. What have you seen from your vantage point of the progression he's made, and what are your expectations for a guy like that?
Yeah, I think he's poised for a huge year. I think he has certainly put himself on the radar to have a good year, and he's put himself on the radar of NFL teams. There's a lot of NFL teams that are really excited about Bam Scott and his size and athleticism and his ability to play special teams, whatever it might be. You know, you saw that. You've seen that, or I have, for the last few years, just some of the stuff he's done on special teams. He's always been a big body that can run and has athleticism. You saw his ability to do some things the last play of the Texas A&M game 2 years ago when they're throwing the Hail Mary towards the end zone, and he beats a block inside and hits the quarterback as he's throwing it as well. And then last year, I think he just gained in confidence defensively with what we were asking him to do. So he's a guy that very athletic, can play sideline to sideline, has size, good on special teams, and I think he's put the work in and has high expectations, as he rightfully should and does, and I think he's poised to have a really big year.
Talking to the guys today, they've talked about the competition that was occurring in the quarterback room, but also the support that they've seen in that room and helping each other get better through that. How much more confidence does that give you, knowing they'll continue to help each other get better as this moves forward?
Yeah, I think it's huge. It's a great room. Dow and Mike Shula are in there, and they've done a great job with all those quarterbacks. The rapport in there, I sit in a lot of those meetings, obviously, and I see it in there, the way they handle their business, the camaraderie that room has. But I told Robby the other day, I went in the quarterback room and I told him one of the cooler moments that I've seen this season is we did a red zone competition period last week where it's offense versus defense, and the defense gets points for stops, holding them to a field goal. The offense gets points for field goals or touchdowns, and it came down to where it was super competitive. The next team to score, whether it be the offense scoring or the defense holding them to a field goal, was going to win it. And Lenoris threw a touchdown pass to win it. And the first offensive player you see come off the sideline to celebrate in the end zone is Robby Ashford. Now, we didn't get a celebration penalty. The game was over and all that as well. But you saw Robby, and I told him that was a pretty cool moment that here the other quarterback throws the touchdown pass to win the period, and he is the first guy out there celebrating with the teammates. So he's got to continue to do that and continue to compete and get better. And he's come so far, Robby has, since he got here, and has a big future ahead of him as well. And I'm excited. He makes our program better, and I'm excited for him.
Going back to the crowded wide receiver room, how's Gage Larvidan kind of separated himself, or what's kind of your evaluation of him over these 14 or so practices?
Yeah, he's been good. He's been a little limited, just with some, nagging injuries, nothing long-term, nothing that has kept him necessarily out, but maybe some things that's kept him from being 100% every single day. So we've got to get him where he's 100% healthy and he can be at his best. But he showed a lot in the springtime about what he can be. He's a really good athlete. He's a really good competitor. He's a competitor. He's a really good basketball player as well. And just an athletic guy that isn't the biggest guy, but has a lot of twitch, can make you miss, and can run and can help us in a lot of different ways, special teams-wise and offense.
Hi, Noah. Nice to meet you, Coach.
Hi, Noah. Where are you from, Noah?
I'm from the Philadelphia area.
All right. Nice. Grew up there?
Yep. Yes, sir.
Where'd you go to high school?
William Tennant.
Okay. Not familiar with that one.
Okay.
Right.
It's in the suburbs.
All right.
You had Josiah Thompson and Dylan Stewart named to the preseason true freshman All-American list by On3. At this point in the season, what does this recognition mean, to you and to your young guys, at this point?
You said Josiah and Dylan. I would say that they were highly recruited. So not to criticize On3, but that's pretty simple. They look at the two highest rated recruits that we had, and I think those two guys were, and they said, okay, they're poised to play a lot this year, so let's make them an All-American, is what it probably went into, considering we haven't played any games. But I think it's a testament to, one, the way that we've recruited. I mentioned it I mentioned it the other day, or I spoke to a group over the weekend and told them, our highest rated recruiting classes the last 2 years, our last two recruiting classes are the highest rated recruiting classes that we've had here in the last 10 years or over 10 years. And it's those guys. 5 of them started last year on our football team. And then you've got 2 more in Josiah and Dylan, along with a lot of other guys in that freshman class that are poised to play a lot this upcoming season. So it's a testament to their abilities coming out of high school. It's a testament to the way that we've recruited. And then it's a testament to them and how they've handled themselves since they got here in January. They don't look like freshmen, and I know they've been here since January, but the way that they've attacked the weight room and changed their bodies and done well academically and all that stuff, they've put the work in, and they're poised to have big seasons. And I'm not disagreeing with On3 at all, because I think both those kids, young men, have the capability to have those kind of seasons for us as well, along with some other freshmen in that class also.
Shane, you've been around a lot of football over your career on both sides. The sack, have you seen it more difficult to get one with the proliferation of spread offenses and that kind of thing?
Yeah, teams are getting the ball out quick. They spread you out. Offenses, I think, do an even better job of, putting tight ends putting defensive ends in tough situations, whether it be RPO stuff or they're moving the pocket, getting the ball out quick. And then when you have really good pass rushers, the ability to chip them with tight ends and running backs and things like that. So I think it's not any easier. That's why being able to recruit guys like Dylan Stewart helps that without a doubt. So I think there's certainly been some changes to the game over the years that have made it tougher. A lot of the teams, they obviously do up-tempo offenses to try and tire out a defense and try and minimize their ability to rush the passer for sure.
You've been around some of the best college quarterbacks in the game. Heck, you had a really good one last year. What can make Lenor special?
He's obviously his physical, God blessed him with a lot of abilities when you're talking about a guy that's close to 240 pounds and runs really well. He's a winner. You look at what he did in high school, leading South Florence to a state championship as a senior. He is a competitor. You see that coming back off an injury that he had in high school and some of the things that I've seen him do out there on the field. And he's just a unbelievable young man, comes from a great family, and I think you take all those qualities and then you add just his poise and consistency, day in, day out. I think there's a lot of things to like about him.
When you are evaluating a quarterback competition, how much of it is going off stats of practices? How much of it is your gut and the coach's gut of, hey, we feel like this guy gives us the best chance to win? And then is there something else that we don't know that goes into it?
No, it's a little bit of everything. I mean, it's stuff on the field. We obviously put our guys in as many different competitive situations as possible. We mixed up, who got work with the first group, second group, all that as well. It's the summertime, the team's together all summer themselves, and we're able to do some things with them. It's the time they spend in the meeting room with, Dow, which is a lot, because if you're a quarterback, when the whole team's in special teams meetings each day, the quarterbacks are in the quarterback meetings, so they get more meeting time than anybody. So it's Dow evaluating everything in the meeting room. It's evaluating everything on the field, certainly. It's how they manage the offense, the mechanics of stuff, you name it. I mean, I think there's a lot that goes into it, but then certainly there's also a gut aspect of it as well. All right, good mock press conference. I think we'll be ready to go next Tuesday.
Thank y'all.